You know you're a fast being or Speed Force type character when you're supposedly supposed to be the messenger of Darkseid, but that's none of my business. You probably expect me to talk about the Speed Force. Well, this particular character is kind of connected to something else, connected to time. In the rebirth stuff, like I'm going to go over later on in this video, they call it the Forever Force, with him being connected to time rather than the Speed Force, which means you can't speed steal him and a lot of different plethora of things. In the post-crisis era, they didn't really have the name for it. They just said he was just linked to time, but they dubbed it Forever Force later on. But I'll get to that stuff later on. Now back to schedule. Before I even go on anything, did you know he started off with no Speed Force abilities, then eventually got the Speed Force abilities, and then there's a place called the Forever Force, and then he eventually gets to the point where he can control all the different forces, Strength Force, Steel Force, Speed Force, and all that madness, which I'm going to get to later on in this vid. Honestly, at this point, you might as well call speedster type characters the same as time manipulators, basically. I've done plenty of speedster type characters on the channel. Hunter Zolomon. A lot of you are probably thinking, didn't you already do a video about the Reverse Flash? Because this character is very similar looking with the yellow outfit and everything. Depending on how you look at it, one could say this is the second iteration of the Reverse Flash. They pretty much explain his story here. Caught in a horrible accident, criminal profiler, and ally of the Flash, Hunter Zolomon found himself paralyzed from the waist down. Hunter attempted to activate the cosmic treadmill, a time machine, in order to fix his life. It exploded, bathed him in strange energies, and has transformed into the monster known only as Zoom. Before I even get anything started, I want to make something known. There's a part of the video where I'm going to talk about how he's not connected to the Speed Force at all, but then eventually he does become connected to the Speed Force later on in comics, but he was initially not connected to the Speed Force, and I'm about to talk about that stuff right now. They pretty much scientifically explain his powers here on how he exploded, because the treadmill is a time machine. They talk about how they could not steal his kinetic energy because he moves by utilizing a different element than the Speed Force. He's tapping into time itself. So he's not necessarily using the Speed Force like the other Speed Force users. They went as far as making a grid. You can pause it to see right here. It's basically explained here how time moves normally. You know, like the standard 1 second, then the next second, then 3 seconds go by. They say Zoom can control how time passes around him. Because this is the timeline, he can move faster than like 1 second. His 1 second will be like half of a second or 1/1,000,000th of a second if he wanted to, because he can speed himself up in the time. Yeah, it's kind of wonky and very confusing to think about. Just know he might as well be a speedster. You can pretty much see how he has a tragic backstory. Actually, one of the Flash's friends. Ain't that crazy? Even they say he's able to travel at super speed due to a limited control of time. Zoom has essentially shifted himself to a faster timeline, allowing him to surpass even the feats of speed evidenced by the current Flash Wally West in this particular comic issue a few years ago, to really give you an idea. I mean, speed people are kind of like time manipulators, because when you're moving super fast, doesn't time kind of slow around you? It's kind of similar to the concept, but he's kind of just controlling time itself and making time pass on him different speed than everybody else if he wants to. So it's kind of like super speed, you know what I mean? But how strong are we talking? Because when you have this much speed, you have a certain level of striking power. Zoom is no exception to this, because he can like make his punches really ridiculously fast when he's being talked about. Other speed beings call him a light speed psychopath. Light speed is like super normal in DC because he controls the stream of time. Beings like Wonder Woman, who have crazy fighting speed, is narrated that he's literally blinking in and out of the time stream at nearly the speed of light, they say. It's basically time travel because he's a time manipulator. Don't want to sound like a broken record, but another fast being like Cheetah, he explains his power, how he's so fast he moves. He can control how fast he moves along the time stream. Like, you know how in real life we can't control if time goes by no matter what we do. Even if we sleep, time still goes forward. If you decide to not leave your house for a week, time still goes forward. You know, that type of thing. That's just the thing. He can control how time affects him or not. So a week, he can make a week not go by if he wants to. You know what I'm saying? That makes sense? It's kind of like speed. It's like this cat got his own personal timeline. You know, now timeline, his own timeline. Even one of the best Speed Force people of all time, Wally himself, says he's incredibly fast since he's fueled by time itself, not necessarily the Speed Force, saying it has nothing to do with it at all. But he can still do Speed Force type stuff, like how he does his hands like this and stuff. They even go as far as say Jesse would just basically be a statue to him. He can pick up other things to make shockwaves with his raw striking power. Believe it or not, he's actually one of those speedster type characters that actually knows how to fight. He took Taekwondo. Things that only people with super strength should technically be able to do, he can do with his punches. I mean, it makes sense. He only battles like other speedsters all the time, right? He punches these different rogues too fast, can smash through ice, through a train, beings that are on the near Superman level, like, that's right, even Wonder Woman. He punches, even breaks out of Green Lantern constructs, steals off on Batman and Superman. Other speedsters like Bart he can keep up with, and Blitz. You know what I'm saying? And he's also not afraid of getting brutal, like beating on beings like the Ray, straight on speed blitz. And when it comes to his fighting feats with Wally, One of the fastest beings in DC he can keep up with in speed and combat and etc. Not even Kid Flash want no smoke. More occasions of power punched through ice. Too many occasions of Flash is getting messed up. Even characters like Wonder Woman, he hits so fast with so much speed, she goes flying very far. Wonder Woman even compared his punching power to Superman, especially being hit at light speed. Yeah, kicking her to France. Then punch her to Egypt. Too many occasions of him tossing Wally. They fight and go to different areas of the country real fast during their fight. Their panels even go from a random desert to back to the city real quick, and he even brutally messes them up here with blitzes. Look how hard he stomps the ground, it turns into weapons. I mean, he even hit him so hard he went flying from the city all the way to some snowy mountains. And officers, y'all get blitzed. Bart gets slapped. Same with you, Impulse. And I didn't forget about you, Jay, get sent flying. How you blitzing other speed beings? You know you fast. When it comes to strength, I could say he has a little bit of lifting, physical strength at least. Like being able to pick up normal-sized human with one arm. This is just something normal human strength can't do. Part of this could be speed or how he was able to throw Jay with one arm. But look how he's lifting up Impulse with one arm. You know what I mean? Like, that ain't normal. Thanks to being able to clap so hard, he can make his own thunderclap with speed. Simply screaming can destroy the environment. Clapping and creating avalanches. Yeah, in this particular occasion, he's wearing red. Yeah, don't ask. He can make a snap with his fingers to make a big explosion, kind of like a mini thunderclap. Creates an explosion here just by flicking his finger. I mean, it's so powerful it can be heard across the whole city. It's like literally a sonic boom that shakes entire buildings. I mean, think about it. He blew apart the top of a building with it. Look what he's doing to the environment just by snapping his fingers. It made her have a miscarriage, that girl that he sent flying. Yeah, the amount of raw power he can just produce. So one could say he has like omnidirectional attacks, sending this many rogues flying. To make it worse, he can just keep spamming the stuff. I mean, he has the speed on his side, but his punches can hurt really top tier beings. He's fast enough to escape Wonder Woman's lasso. Notice how he's fast enough to wrap Wonder Woman's lasso around her own neck. During one of his mini fights with the Flash, they're simply fighting while vibrating through the environment at the same time. Plenty of occasions dodging attacks from Bart, which makes perfect sense. Beings like Power Girl that are pretty fast, she still can dodge beings like this. I mean, if Wally has trouble with him, why would Weather Wizard even try to tag him? Why would you throw a boomerang at him, Captain Boomerang? He reacts to that. Think about it, he can punch you 200 times in 2 seconds. On Amazon, for example, curb stomping on average Amazon, dodging attacks from Cheetah. His speed is so crazy, even Wally says, in this particular occasion, he actually needed an amp so he can kind of achieve infinite speed to even keep up with Zoom because of his time manipulating ability. They're like literally on some godlike stuff, like other speedsters are frozen like statues. I mean, beforehand, Wally tried to blitz him and it didn't really go that well. Yeah, Wally's having some issues with him. He's parrying Wally Westwood with one hand with his speed while holding Linda with the other. He's so fast in comparison to Impulse, Impulse didn't even see him move. It's even so bad to where time just basically appears frozen. When other speedsters like Jay and other Flashes think you're invisible, that's how you know you're too fast. Even glasses of water he spills over just suspended in time. It's so bad even his own mind is jumbled at times. Poor Fly's like pretty much slow compared to him. There's this big argument about fighting speed versus travel speed. When it comes to speedsters, they're pretty much one and the same. As fast as he can run, he can react to the same stuff when it comes to blitzes and etc. Dude's able to keep up with super fast beings like Bizarro even if he's not running in a straight line. Ain't that freaking funny? Big W for him. It's the common stuff I done went over a million times in this video. Travel speed, fighting speed, it doesn't matter these two. Even Wally has trouble keeping up with his raw power. It's so bad to the point where what is lightning compared to his speed? You could be in the middle of a sentence and he can just grab somebody and then escape mid-sentence if necessary. You know you're fast when y'all circle the globe several times and everybody's completely frozen. Circling the globe a dozen times and the fight lasts for like a second. Well, less than a second. Anybody that can move behind the Flash in mid-fight is fast. Can blitz you, then disarm you, and etc. You would think these speedsters would be glass cannons, but they've taken some crazy hits from powerhouses before. One can make an argument the speed they're going, their body has to be on that level of their ability to be able to handle their own recoil, one could say. But of course, later on in his career, of course, they gotta make him eventually connected to the Speed Force at one point, right? Like in Rebirth. Just like how there's a speed force, there's other forces that was explored in Rebirth. There was this thing where the force barriers were messed up and stuff. They explain it here on how he stole some force, the new force powers. One could say this is a temporary power during this big event. So he was powered up more than ever before. He had the strength force on how it makes him stronger. The sage force smarter. And you know, he already has the speed. He does your standard stuff like making vortexes. This guy's battling Barry and Wally at the same time. This dude pulled up on the Justice League and the Titans and blitzed them, including Superman. What the heck? Aquaman? Bruh. Even Black Flash was getting the works. arms looking like the Thing, like Rocky. Like he got magma arms, he's so powered up. Nobody is a match for him. He even pulls up and blitzes Flash from other universes and starts messing them up. A gunslinger Flash from Earth 18. Bye-bye Barry, get punched. And the same goes for you, Wally. Now that he has the actual Speed Force, he can outrun Barry and the Black Flash during this climactic part. Not even the Steel Force can freeze him. This cat ran into Hyper Time, dodging both of the fastest beings in the universe. Hyper Time is like everything that has happened in DC and all that craziness. You can even see the images of it here. The past Flash sacrificing himself in the Crisis on Infinite Earths event and stuff. As fast as these beings are, he can still blitz them if he has to. On top of being able to create his own costume, even before getting the Speed Force like I showed this scan earlier, stated he's beyond speed. It's only a window in time. If Wally does a permanent speed steal on you, he can kind of reverse that. He can even share his power with inertia, the guy that got his speed stolen. With all these other forces, he can even attack your mind, adding all this BS on top of the strength force he can use. You think you got the Steel Force? Let me get that for you right fast. Stealing it from Steadfast, Steel Force is mine. And then he just straight up bringing beings to the Forever Force, a place that exists outside of space and time. He reminisces to when the cosmic treadmill exploded and he was given his original powers. He just got a taste of this, the ability to manipulate time. But he pretty much stated, I couldn't go backward. I couldn't really control it. Wally once trapped me in this for what seemed like an eternity, but now that I control all four forces, I can be the hero I always knew I could be, which was his ultimate goal, by the way. The greatest Flash in the multiverse. This dude was pretty much unstoppable when he had all the forces under his control. Two of the fastest beings in the universe, while he was mixing in his other abilities with his strength force, with his speed force. And not to mention, he still has that time BS where you can pretty much steal his kinetic energy. It won't really stop him, really. He was super freaking overpowered. Yeah, all these panels of them fighting together for the sake of it all. But at the end of the day, he ended up doing the right thing. When it comes to the different forces he had control over, he was kind of like on some multiversal threat type stuff. There's only one speed force in the entire multiverse. Now imagine all those other forces being under one man's control. I mean, you already know he knocked out the entire Justice League. He's the reason this little force war even started in the first place. The fact he was able to damage the Black Flash this much is something that's like unfathomable. It was even stated that this war was so crazy it almost tore apart the multiverse. Yeah, I know it's hard to believe, but there was a point where he had the Speed Force, Strength Force, Steel Force, all together. He was definitely above the Superman range in this day, but this was like, one could say, a temporary thing. No, he literally had all the forces. Speed, Sage Force, Strength, Steel Force. Yeah, he was definitely a multiversal threat. But forget all that temporary power-up stuff. We don't even need to talk about him when he had all these forces. Him and his base, he's still a beast. And believe it or not, thanks to speed healing, generated his crushed vertebrae. He healed that fast. Even he's shocked about the speed he healed. I brought this up on how you can't really retcon a Speed Force user. It kind of applies for him, even if he's not necessarily a Speed Force user, but a Forever Force user, technically, using time rather than the Speed Force. He still remembers things he's not supposed to remember, even when stuff is supposedly retcon. He remembers something like the fact that Wally West was the Flash, even when Spectre supposedly made it where nobody was supposed to remember it, because he's kind of separated when it comes to how he fits in with the universe. He can do the casual Speed Force user type stuff like phasing through stuff. One could say he has precognition because one could say he can make his own windows in time, which is kind of like a cheat code because he can look into the past or the freaking future to kind of anticipate you what you're about to do before you even knew it. In the hierarchy, I definitely think he's a Superman level being based on the statements like this with Wonder Woman. It makes sense how light speed punches are very powerful. He can harm Wonder Woman tears, tangle her up, and even Superman level beings. That's a lot of power. Green Lantern, and etc. His slightest movements can cause crazy amount of power, withstanding blows from Wonder Woman tears. Same with attacks from a different Earth Superman. He's definitely a Wally West, Barry Allen Superman, Wonder Woman level being with his raw speed, being able to produce ridiculous punching power. To have similar punching power with Superman, or possibly surpass him because he can technically go to infinite speed. Yes, thanks to his ability to manipulate time to a certain degree. I'm unsure if he could just spam this level of speed, maybe under a special circumstance or context, or for that particular story. He did match a Wally West that was able to achieve infinite speed, which is absurd, without necessarily having to use the other forces, just his Forever Force, or just from the fact he's using the ability, using time itself to his advantage. But yeah, I don't want to do a no limits fallacy. I wouldn't say he's like this all the time though. Yeah, but this guy's a savage, man. One of the most powerful beings in the universe. You gotta respect these speedster type characters. Respect Hunter Zolomon. But I also got to give a quick shout out to those that took the time to donate to the channel. Respect Hunter Zolomon. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.